Hi, I am Anamika. Today I want to talk a little bit about mother wounds and father wounds, starting with mother wounds. So, what are these wounds? So, these wounds are the trauma that has been carried by a mother from her earlier previous generations and that is being inherited to us as children. And our relationship with our parents is the most important relationship that we encounter when we come and take this human form, and it is the most impactful relationship in our lives, is because that is the first touch we receive. That is the person we have spent 9 months in her womb, and our cords are connected with her, even physically, and we come out of her. So in all different layers we are connected to her, and how she feels about herself later on becomes how we feel about ourselves at a very deep rooted level, at a very subconscious level, not just at the level of mind, but also at the level of emotions, the level of energy, even at the level of our physical body. So it becomes how we relate to others. So, as we talked about in attachment styles and secure attachment styles, if we had a mother who felt secure and her attachment style was secure, she would have taken care of us in a way where she would be emotionally connected to us, really attuned to us, she would support us, and she wouldn't be transferring her unresolved trauma to us, which usually comes from low self worth, low self esteem, low self image. And she would be able to see us as a sovereign being, not just as a reflection of her. So, for many of our mothers, it's not about that we are talking about wounds, so we are blaming our mothers. It's something that they didn't have an opportunity to work upon and they couldn't do much with it in life. But when we as beings come in our power and we realize about this, when we heal ourselves, we break this chain of passing on these unresolved wounds and traumas to the upcoming generations. And as we got this opportunity, it also becomes our responsibility to look after this thing. So, our mothers did not know how to regulate their emotions or cope, or even how to meet their needs or take care of themselves, self soothe themselves, or to set healthy boundaries, or to not be too much dependent on their partners at all levels, and or maybe not be very controlling or protective or people pleasing or dominating, and the list goes on. There are so many wounds that are passed on that we don't realize, and these things are happening at a very unconscious level, be it about mother wounds or father wounds. So it's not like your mother only had mother wounds, so she passed on a lot of things which she brought, her unresolved trauma, which included all different kinds of wounds. And now the same thing also happened with your father, and he also passed on different varieties of wounds, and they all came out as a different mixture in you, and you came with your own survival, coping, defense mechanisms to operate in the world. Many mothers haven't processed their trauma, so they were highly critical, or they used to compare us a lot, or they wouldn't take care of themselves, they wouldn't provide for themselves, they wouldn't even be emotionally supportive. Many a times, when a mother feels that she couldn't do a lot in her life, and how she felt about herself and how she engaged in relationships and the beliefs she carried um, become part of our conditioning. So she was the most important person in our life, and we were dependent on her for our survival. So we start creating the same belief system. So this manifests as inability to set boundaries and a lot of insecurity related to our own body image, physical appearance, codependency in relationships, inability to regulate emotions, inability to self-soothe, having a fear of neglect, abandonment, being left alone, being rejected, a lot of self-judgment, self-criticism, and seeking constant approval from your own mother, and always looking for her to make decisions, always trying to make her happy. So, if we had a mother who looked at us and she felt that through us she can meet her needs, solve her problems, or find meaning in life, and attempted to live her own life through us, then we can spend our whole adult life playing the role of a fixer, or an enabler, or a rescuer. And a lot of these things go on with mother wounds. Many of these things are common when it comes to father wounds. Like we all have them, it's not about gender. These father wounds can manifest in us as a very strong inner critic. So there's always this voice, very strong critical voice inside us. It can also manifest as our inability to trust men, maybe in general or in romantic relationships, and the intentions they have. Our feeling of resentment towards men, and us feeling that they should be punished, or they shouldn't be treated the same way because they have suppressed the feminine energy for so long. And if our fathers were not present with us, so we didn't have an authentic emotional connection with them, then there is this fear of abandonment. And we can also manifest it as a very controlling, opinionated, strict, and I know everything kind of behavior in us. And also, we can develop a core belief that we are only worthy if we are playing the role of what our father held as ideal. Maybe a caretaker, maybe somebody who's a provider, somebody who's good at sports, somebody who is achieving a lot in business, somebody who doesn't cry, etc., etc. And if we saw that our father engaged in harmful behaviors, and they were controlling towards our mothers, then we develop a lot of love-hate relationship towards them, and the list goes on and on and on. So a lot of people spend a lot of their time in seeking approval, not seeking approval, but always trying to prove a point to their fathers that they are also worthy and they can also do things. And that's how father wounds show up in us. These conflicting feelings of love, pain, a lot of anger, a lot of hatred get internalized as a lot of self-shame and self-harm. Their own painful image is often projected on us as children. So the father wounds manifest in our life in this way. Now, when we are talking about these wounds, there's no point blaming them, because probably they did the best of whatever they could as per their understanding of life. But as adults now, it is our responsibility to now take charge of what we do about it. So, a few natural feminine traits that are there in us are traits of love, connection, softness, gentleness, sensitivity, surrender, flow, allowing, emotions, feeling, intuition, kindness, understanding, grace, beauty, sensuality, and all these beautiful, beautiful qualities. But when we inherit these wounds, how we start behaving as a toxic feminine, what traits we show are the traits of being a victim, always feeling needy, codependent, oversensitive, over emotional, manipulative, passive aggressive, and weak. Now, a few of the most beautiful divine masculine traits which are so natural to our masculine part are the traits like confidence, protection, clarity, inner strength, responsibility, boundaries, discipline, order, courage, focus, logic, decision making, perseverance, capability, stability, certainty, direction, assertiveness, and all these traits are beautiful, beautiful masculine traits. But when we shadow it with our toxic masculine side, then these same traits become traits of a perpetrator, somebody who would abuse or criticize the situation, somebody who's unstable, very aggressive, avoidant, or is always trying to control the situation, is abusing the power they have, or they think they are always right, or they are the only ones who are right, etc. So all of these traits which are supposed to be within us, which are given to us naturally in our natural forms, convert into toxic shadow forms. And when we develop these toxic masculine and toxic feminine qualities in us, we are in our unhealed state, and we are operating from our insecure attachment styles, and they show us that we still have a lot of unresolved trauma in us. Now, how do we resolve this trauma? How do we heal our inner child, heal our mother wounds and father wounds? So, the first step to healing our mother and father wounds is to acknowledge that we have these, and then having an intention to come in terms with whatever has happened in your life, being accepting, coming to a point of complete acceptance, and being able to see that it is what it is. By doing that, I mean taking our time, sitting with your inner child, not rejecting your parts, feeling your feelings, being with yourself, and integrating yourself with all of your inner child forms, not rejecting, suppressing, or trying to fix them, but to actually see all those parts of you as parts who deserve to be seen, loved, heard unconditionally. This is a journey of awareness. This is the journey of loving yourself back. And when we integrate our inner childs and our different fragments and splits in our parts, then we have the capacity to now come to a place where we can operate actually as an adult. Otherwise, these wounds, traumas come out and keep coming out as our patterns, conditionings, as our triggers, and the inner child keeps operating through us all the time, and it's always trying to tell us that look at me, and we don't. As you've heard this audio for so long, I'm sure you're ready to get in touch with your inner child. So look at it, start talking to it. It's always there with you. So that's all from my side today. A lot of love to you. Have a great day. Thank you.